So welcome to this meeting. I feel this is going to be a rather special evening. So probably many of you are constantly looking on Facebook. I'm told this is the life now, to be on Facebook. But I have to admit that I've only ever been once deciding to go on Facebook, which was a few days ago. And I can't even remember why I went onto Facebook. And I came to my own Facebook page. And of course, I don't have any kind of feeling about my own page because I never look at it. And anyway, as I came onto into Facebook, suddenly I discovered that somebody had put up various wisdom quotations from Albert Einstein. And I started reading them, and I was completely shocked because he could have been a spiritual teacher. He said such amazing things. And I want to go through some of these quotations tonight because I was truly touched. And I think it's pretty likely that I'm meant to have this meeting tonight because after I found them, being hopeless on Facebook, I managed to lose them again very quickly. And it took Ohm's help, about half an hour of his help, before we could get them back again. And then we got them in French for some strange reason. We got them in French, but then we were able to get them in English. And these are what I want to go through with you today. And if you're touched from this meeting, I suggest you go to my blog where the complete list of these quotations are there. So about 1/3 of the quotations were kind of what I would call physics, science, which I couldn't really make any judgment about. But the ones that are on the list tonight, they all feel to me like spiritual quotations, and they all feel like things that I can say, I know that's true. So I find this is almost bound to be a very interesting evening, and I really invite you to dialogue with me about these quotations, because I think you'll also be quite amazed by them. Okay, so but before we start doing that, I would like to say hello to some old friends. In particular, we have Eva Maria, Uma Devi, I think I gave her the name Uma Devi, who I haven't seen for maybe 1.5 years or maybe 2 years. So maybe you'd like to say hello.
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes, very good, yeah.
Yes, hello, nice to see you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 1.5 years we didn't see, it's true. Yeah,
right,
in February last year.
And behind you, you have one of your boyfriend's paintings, I guess.
No, my own.
Your own painting?
Yes.
Okay, right, well, very nice. Yeah. Have you
you
got some more like that?
Yes, not here, but yes, I have some more.
Okay, and we're always interested to exhibit paintings, you know. So
yes,
if you have some more, you might like to send pictures of them.
Yeah, most of them are very, very big, and I don't know how to get them from A to B.
Well, don't worry. We have a car with a trailer.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We'll dash to you and put them in our trailer. No problem.
Okay. Yeah, we can speak about that.
Are you still living in the south of Germany?
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. And I'm quite busy at the moment. I have my first yoga teacher training. So I train yoga teachers to be yoga teacher in about 1 year.
Okay, very nice. So you probably had a holiday for a year, but now you're starting again.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I'm very happy about that.
Right. Yeah. Okay, well, welcome. It's nice to see you again after all this long time.
Yeah, nice to see you and Om.
Okay, I'm going to go
maybe
back
some
on.
Others.
Right, I'm going to put you back on so I can see everybody. Otherwise, it doesn't work so well. Okay, so I'm probably going to pronounce your name wrong, but Hadron, you're from Austria, maybe? So anyway, I recognize you, but I'm not quite sure when we last met. Was that here in the house?
In April.
In April?
Yeah.
You were here in the house for a couple of weeks?
For 1 month.
1 month, right. And I remember you were leaving because you had some very exciting job lined up.
Yeah. I'm still living in Austria, but I'm preparing to go back to Berlin.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have been, the last month I have been in Berlin working in a big garden.
Okay.
To be prepared to get a job there.
Right.
And I think I will leave after 1 year. So I will stay 1 more year in Austria, and then I'm going back to Berlin, to my hometown.
Okay.
I'm very happy about that.
Right. Okay. And in the meantime, you're coming to visit us in Spain, I think, for a week.
Right.
Yeah?
On Monday, I'm going to Spain.
Okay. Good.
The flight is already booked.
Right. I'm coming on Saturday.
Great. I'm looking forward.
Okay. It's a very nice
I'm coming
place.
together with my son.
Right. Very nice. Yeah. Okay. I'm coming with my daughters.
Oh, both of them.
Yeah, I have to take them together. They're a kind of unit, you know.
Yeah.
You can't have one without the other.
Yeah, my son is taller than me, and he's 18 now, so.
Okay.
Let's
probably going to be he's going to be a basketball player, probably. Basketball player. Okay.
So who is going to be in Spain then?
About half of the community.
Okay. I heard that Radha will be there and Parvati.
No, but
Radha not. Oh,
we don't quite know because of whatever. You'll know when you see them. We're rather spontaneous community, so I can't tell you exactly.
Okay.
About 10 people from the community will be there.
All right.
Yeah. Good. Nice to see you again.
Yeah.
Maybe I should ask Lakshmi. She's always good for a beginning.
Hello, everybody. Do you see me?
Yeah, I see you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The meditation was, I felt much thoughts and, but a warm silence in my chest, I think. But I was with my thoughts at Albert Einstein and the wonderful text you mentioned.
Right.
Because I translated it in German.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah, and I was very, very touched and felt a deep yes inside.
Right.
This yes comes from my feelings, but to live this his words, I think it's not so easy. For example, to think there's no time only our watch is showing us the time. It's not easy. Yeah, only in deep silence, I think. I had a little tiny, how can I say, a little tiny feeling of timelessness. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And yes. And the
I
other.
mean, it's like my daughters. I often refer to my daughters who are 5.5.
Yeah.
And sometimes they say to me, when will we see mummy? Because we share them, they roughly 50-50. So they sometimes say to me, when will I? And I say, oh, in 2 days you'll see. And then they've got in the habit now of putting up fingers, So 2 days is 2 fingers, you see. This is their idea of time.
Yeah.
So this is actually very interesting that instead of you say 2 days, you say 2 fingers.
Yeah.
So they have no concept of time at all, nothing. And this is very beautiful, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes making appointments and things a bit complicated.
Yeah.
But for example, I came a little bit late to the meeting tonight because I went with Kamala to visit a shop to sell our honey. It was our first business. Maybe we brought many kilograms of honey from Ukraine. And we went to this shop and they were very happy to see us. And we had a long chat and they bought lots of honey. And then afterwards, I was so kind of touched from what happened that I said to Kamal, okay, let's have an Indian dinner, because we were standing outside an Indian restaurant. So we sat down and ordered dinner. And then Kamala said, don't you have a meeting tonight? And I said, oh, I'd forgotten about that. And that was about 7:30 by then, So I just had time to eat a quick dinner, jump in the car,
and then
come back here, you see. And I often have this situation, actually, that luckily I live in a community and these people kind of manage me a bit because I'm quite capable of not being very connected to time.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we'll get into these quotations in a moment. Let's just see if anybody else would like to come in and say hello. So I don't know quite what's happening now. I'm probably clicking the wrong corner. So I think, I need rescuing again. I can't seem to find the big screen.
If you go to view and then click on gallery.
Now view has come. Yeah. Okay. Good. Now I'm not very technically. Okay. So anybody else like to say something? I think I know I'm very familiar with everybody. So yeah. Okay. So let's go to the quotations. I think I've got quite a lot of quotations, and I think you're going to discover that they're pretty amazing because he's not the only physicist. There was a lot of the early physicists who were, how can I say, they were dividing the atom. It started in about 1915, I think, going through the 1920s. There was many famous physicists. One comes to mind. He was Niels Bohr, one man who comes to mind. But there are many famous physicists, and Einstein, of course, was one of those, who were experimenting with very small particles. And they had various kinds of machines which could break particles into smaller particles. They were kind of splitting the atom. And from what I could understand, every time they could split the atom into something smaller, they would always find a little bit of something and a lot of nothing. And then they would take this little bit of something and make another experiment and make it even smaller, break it into something even smaller. But again, they would find a little bit of something and a lot of nothing. And this process continued for some time until finally it got very, very small. And then they had to build huge machinery or apparatus. Maybe you've heard about this, but in Switzerland, in an underground tunnel, they built an enormous machine, and they could fire one very small particle in the left direction and another particle in the right direction. And these particles were held inside this tunnel, inside this apparatus, by electromagnetic force. So they were kind of suspended in a force field. And they could arrange it that these particles then would go around for several kilometers, and then they would come together and collide together. And that would cause another breakage, another splitting, you can say. So they could split very, very, very small particles. I can't even remember what they called them. And they were split into even smaller particles. And as far as I know, this has been carrying on with bigger and bigger machines. And I think maybe 2 years ago, they discovered a very particular particle, which they said was one of the building blocks of the universe, if I remember, something like that. But anyway, my point is that the kind of people who are doing those experiments, they are very much interested in the same understanding that comes from spiritual teachers in the tradition of Indian spirituality or Buddhist spirituality. So if we look at the first quotation, he says, concerning matter, we have been all wrong. What we have called matter is energy, whose vibration has been so lowered as to be perceptible to the senses. Matter is spirit reduced to point of visibility. There is no matter. And of course, right now you're sitting probably on a chair, you're probably looking at a computer screen, and therefore you could say it certainly seems as if there is actually matter, yeah, actually matter. And he's saying there is no such thing as matter, you see, because earlier physicists had talked about the world in terms of matter, you know, kind of solid stuff. And when they were able to split this solid stuff into smaller and smaller particles, they were constantly discovering that there is no matter as in something solid. As he says, everything in fact is energy, and all this energy has a certain vibration. So actually everything in the universe is vibrating, and it's vibrating together. And it's possible to sense that, to be aware of that. And this is actually pretty mind-blowing, because it means that our general idea of reality is actually completely false. So we see a table as solid because this has come to a certain vibration which allows it to become solid. This is what Einstein's saying, and I would say this is completely true. Would anybody like to respond to that about matter? Because this is very fundamental, and if you go more and more deeply into this, then you it kind of challenges all our ideas about what is real. Anybody like to comment? Nobody. Okay, I guess I'm going to talk to myself tonight. And then he's saying what Lakshmi was saying, time does not exist. We invented it. Time is what the clock says. The distinction between the past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion. You see? So this is, again, completely shocking. But if you investigate this for yourself, you'll see that it's completely true. In fact, there is only now. Now. And so the whole effort of a spiritual life is, in fact, to live in the now. Yeah. And this is actually completely natural. You're always in the now. But unfortunately, we've got very much in the habit of being in the past, or perhaps being in the future. And by being in the past and being in the future, we're simply not present. And so this is very important to be aware of how you, in fact, are not really present, how you easily go into memories of the past. I was sitting with one lady today, for example, and she didn't look very happy. And I asked her, you don't seem very happy. And she was completely busy with her girlfriend, who she hasn't seen for a week or two, you see. This is all the past. And if you stay in the past, you suffer, basically. And of course, most people, in fact, are living suffering. And they consider this is a normal life. It's normal to be suffering most of the time. And then another beautiful quotation. I think 99 times and find nothing. I stop thinking, swim in silence, and the truth comes to me. I mean, this is an incredible quotation, you see, because this is exactly the whole effort of a spiritual life. If you stay in silence, everything comes to you. You don't have to do anything. And we're so usually we're so busy to do something. Like he says, he doesn't say it, but I'm saying it. He's a physicist. He probably is running all kinds of experiments. Also, he's thinking a lot, because Einstein mostly was not doing experiments. He was mostly figuring it out in his mind. So he said, I think 99 times and find nothing. And I stop thinking, swim in silence, and the truth comes to me. This is very, very beautiful. And I mean, I'm very touched to read that, because I've been living like that for the last 20 years. Unbelievable. When I have a really tough thing to decide, I leave it, go to sleep, and nearly always in the morning, the answer is waiting for me, you see? And if you try to think about something, most of you know that if you think about something, you go round and round and round and round, and actually it doesn't work, because you're only, when you go around and round in your mind, you're only really getting in touch with kind of old stuff, you can say, you're only going into the kind of old archive of your mind. But when you come to silence, you have a direct connection then with upstairs, what we can call the divine intelligence, divine wisdom, or we can call it just the divine. So if we allow the silence, then we have this amazing navigation system, if you like, you see. Just immediately, as he says, the truth comes to me, he says. Truth comes to me. Anybody like to comment on that? I'm sure there must be some people here tonight who have this in their life. Kavati?
I would like to say something.
Okay.
I think that this time is that we have now, that we learn to be flexible and not to plan everything. And this is what makes time real, that we see there is no time that we can plan. It's just living in the now and then see what it will bring. And this is what we all learn at the moment, I think, since the last year or last 1.5 years. And I think all the quantum theoretics is based on the Einstein projects and on his wise words,
Right.
one should say.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there were a whole crowd of different physicists, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
Einstein became perhaps the most famous, but there were quite a few guys involved in the quantum physics.
Yeah.
And they all, well, all, but many of them seem to have a very strong spiritual content, you know, to their ideas, to their work, to their life.
Yes. Yes, and I remember one, I don't know who said it, but it was one of those quantum theoretics. He said, when I look on the bottom of this glass, when I try to find something out, when I really look on the bottom, I see God. I can find God there.
Right, right, right. Right. Okay, very nice.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to
Yes.
comment? Who's that? Pavati, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I experienced also what you said, but it's very simple with the cooking. I often don't know what I want to cook.
Right.
And I also just wait, and then it comes sometimes during the cooking even, it develops.
Right.
And now,
Right.
so far, I can trust this more and more.
Right. Right.
And also in the normal life, I can see it. You know it from other things. You need a parking space or other things which happen.
Right. Right.
And about the time, I like to say about the illusion of time, you can also see if you have how different you experience time, how things can be, it's very long or very short.
Right.
And
Right.
both is, you can see the illusion very clear in this experience, you can say. No?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I find it very sweet with the girls with the 2 fingers.
Right.
To see it like this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when I say yes, yes, you know, it's 2 fingers, you'll see mummy in 2 fingers. They don't really have any concept then of what the 2 fingers means, you know, actually.
Yeah.
But if I say 5 fingers, that's not as nice as if I say 2 fingers, you know, because they understand anyway, 2 fingers means mummy's coming soon, and 5 means, well, not really so quick, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So in that sense, they're beginning to get an idea of time, I suppose.
Yeah, this is right. This is right.
Yeah. Okay, good. Let's go on with this Okay. And then he says, I mean, this is an amazing statement for somebody like Einstein, yeah, because somehow in his reputation, you can imagine that he was an incredibly intellectual person, yeah. And actually, this is exactly what he got, if, in a way, the most credit for, you could say. So the intellect has little to do on the road to discovery. There comes a leap in consciousness. Call it intuition, or what you will. The solution comes to you and you don't know how or why. You see? I mean, this is, you know, this is happening all the time in our community, I would say. All the time. It's very miraculous, actually. Any comments on this statement? Okay, I can see I'm going to be talking to myself tonight. Okay, so next quote. A human being experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. I mean, this is also an incredible statement, I would say, and maybe I would never expect it from a physicist. I mean, this is also something that's very touching for me when I go for a walk with the girls. Like yesterday, we got out of the car opposite the house and we walked across the road, and immediately Naomi saw a snail on the wall, you know, just a little snail climbing up the wall, you know, and she said, look at this. And for her, it was as if she just found a dinosaur or something, you know. It was completely exciting, this little animal crawling up the wall, which I definitely never noticed at all. She's also very big on ladybirds. I don't know if you know ladybirds, a little red insect with black dots on it, which flies around, yeah? And again, she's walking along and she'll suddenly see one of these little tiny insects and get very excited about it. I don't know why, out of all the many kinds of insects, she's so crazy about ladybirds, you know? But anyway, it's kind of her passion, you can say. And again, it's like, how did she see this, you know? And how can she be so in contact with these little tiny creatures? And we adults, or maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I mean, somehow in my life, I don't have an intimate contact to insects, actually. You know, it's not really, I'm not big on sort of insects, actually, relating to insects. I mean, I have enough trouble with human beings that I don't have much energy left, I think, for insects. Mm. Any other comments on this quote? Did I see? Lakshmi. Okay, let's go to Lakshmi.
I think your children are absolutely in the moment. Therefore, they see the ladybirds.
Yeah.
They are absolutely in the moment. It's a wonderful state of the children.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I lost my I forgot the last
Well,
thought.
I'd like to say that, you know, we're having this retreat now in Spain in a couple of weeks, and there are star guests.
Okay.
I'm introducing them as my assistants. They're going to sort you all out a bit, maybe. Do you understand?
No, I didn't understand you. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm saying that Naomi and Amelia are coming to the retreat in 2 weeks, and they will be my assistants.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. Special agents. They'll be my special agents.
And your teacher, and our teacher.
And maybe your teacher.
Yeah, genau. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's go on to the next quotation. Our separation from each other is an optical illusion. See, this is also very, very strong, because most people grow up with an idea that, you know, I'm little Johnny, and this is my mummy, and this is my daddy. Here's Uncle Bill, here's Auntie something, and we're all separate, of course. And this is not easy to change, actually, because it's such a strong conditioning that we're separate. And in a way, most children are, how can I say, they're constantly told in different ways that they're separate. And so naturally, they believe themselves to be separate. Yeah? They believe themselves to be separate. And then as we grow up, we just maintain this sense of separation. But when you start to investigate it, and this is perhaps one of the ongoing aspects of our community life, then it disappears. I had a very nice example of that this morning, because we're developing this honey business, and I had the idea we can make a kind of promotional how can I say, promotional graphic with bees and flowers and honey pots. And I had asked Ohm if he could design something, because he's very clever at that kind of stuff. But he's a very busy guy. So he had done a little bit of an idea together with Turia. And then I came and sat down and said, come on, we've got to get this happening now. And then it was like magic. I mean, I would say it was 90% Ohm, but there was also maybe 10% or so of John David. And just together sitting there, it was just happening. And after maybe 20 minutes, we had a very nice thing where he had done all kind of very clever graphic stuff. I said, well, the bee should be a bit smaller, or how about putting some honey pots under the tree? And then I happened to have a photograph of honey pots, which I'd taken recently in with Arjuna in Tripelia, and so on. So it all came together very, very easily. And we ended up with a beautiful hill covered in all kinds of wild flowers, with bees, you know, nuzzling down into the flowers, and other bees shooting off back to their beehive. And we had a nice, happy-looking sun in one corner, and so on, right? And this just came together. I mean, I don't know how Owen felt about it. Maybe he'd like to comment, but it was just like two people, and their energy somehow connecting in such a way that something came out, you know. But you can't say, you know, he did that and he did that. It was just happening like a melting, through a sort of creative melting. And I often experience this also with Turiya when we have to, I don't know, decide something about the art gallery maybe. Again, very often it just happens like that, hardly knowing whose idea it was. And this happens also in a bigger group of the community. Recently, the community was talking about getting vaccinated, and a few people had kind of strong idea about that. But actually, out of the meeting, most people could see the sense in doing that. And I'd like to tell that person who has very strong ideas about it that tonight, when I tried to go into the Indian restaurant to have dinner, they wouldn't let us in without a vaccination certificate or a recent test. So basically, if you want to run around in the city now, it's going to be more and more like that. The easiest thing is to carry a vaccination certificate with you, and it's like a new kind of passport, you can say. And there's even some big companies who are telling their workers that if you want to carry on working, you need to get a vaccination. So those of you who had great moral and, I don't know, medical maybe reasons, maybe you think of the ease of your life, because for me, constantly traveling on planes and airports and occasionally having dinner somewhere, I mean, I'm not going to do a test every time I want to go and have dinner, you know, it's like, who wants to do that? So strong recommendation for vaccination, for example. And this anyway came out of the meeting the other night. Nobody was really thinking of having a vaccination. But when we started talking about it, it was so natural in a way that it was decided that lots of people would get vaccinated. Maybe you don't all agree with what I've just said, but anyway. I know one person who doesn't agree, but anyway. Anybody want to comment on this quotation that our separation is an optical illusion? For example, now we have about 25 people, I think. We've got exactly 25 people on the screen. I don't know if you all see the same screen I'm seeing, but my screen is divided up into 5 rows of 5 people. So 25 people completely fills up the screen. And I see all together. And somehow I'm able to kind of focus on everybody at the same time. And I'm not really saying, oh, there's Rajen, here's Raj, over there is Danny. I'm not really saying that. You know, I'm just kind of aware that we're a bunch of people kind of melting together in the Zoom meeting. Anybody else like to comment on that?
Hello.
Oh, good old Govinda. We sent Govinda to outer space, you know. He's living now in the small village in the middle of Ukraine. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to comment on what you just said, because with this view where I can see everyone, it's sometimes like it's like I can't find myself anymore. I feel like I could be kind of everyone on the screen, and then when when it's, for example, now with you, when I have you on the big screen, then there comes all my Govinda stuff in relation to John David, and then it gets like a bit difficult somehow. Yeah. It's very funny to observe this.
It's called an authority issue, don't worry.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. And I see Rajan also got his hand up. So let's get him into view.
Yeah, so I mean, here in Spain, we are, of course, very few people together. So I can easily notice this melting happening when we come together in this Zoom meeting. And I think when I'm in Germany, then it's more their everyday life, but you also take it more for granted. So, but now it's very evident this, yeah, when we meet like this, that it's it's simply a oneness or some kind of, yeah, melting, as you say.
Right, right. And the amazing thing is that somehow existence has put these 25 people together, you know?
Mm.
And somehow it works, you know, somehow we feel an easy connection. Maybe we come from different countries, maybe different ages, and somehow I would say that in the typical Zoom meeting, we're not aware of ages and countries and all that kind of stuff that sort of separates us.
Mm. Yeah, and I mean it's what you said, something about energy and resonance, that it's all the same. And yeah, I mean here or at least for me, I meet so many new people every day who come as guests in the guest house, and then yeah, I mean sometimes you can still feel this resonance together and very easily connect, and other times it's more difficult somehow. But it doesn't really matter. But it's just something I can see very clearly, because every day it's different meetings with people.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and in the guest house, of course, you're also dealing with nationality. You have maybe a lot of people from Spain, but you have also people from probably many other European countries.
Mm.
And
yeah,
I mean, there is some differences because of culture.
Yeah. But I can also see this a bit. It's very strong, some kind of mechanisms when meeting completely new people, and that this can also more relax, because I'm meeting new people all the time anyway. So it's more like you get trained to be more yourself and not really starting to protect something, just being very natural with strangers. And yeah, maybe then they are not strangers anymore when you can just relax and be, yeah, like be who you are.
Right.
And yeah, when I read this Einstein quotes, I immediately thought about LSD. That was my thought about the whole thing.
Well, certainly LSD helps to feel this lack of separation, and it helps to get into the vibration rather than solid matter, I think. Yeah. It's one of the nice things. If you take quite a strong dose, then you really become aware of how it's all vibrating together. In my druggy youth, which wasn't actually so druggy, but when I got a bit older and then took some of those stronger drugs, it was amazing always to discover this kind of vibratingness, the sort of solid, the sense of solid would disappear, and you would find yourself very aware of it all vibrating together.
Yeah, and like all what you normally find solid and that you believe in or hold on to, that just dissolves, and then you hold on to nothing. But it's and it's what you fear, but it's not a problem. It's just natural to not hold on.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Oh, Kashi, you want to say something?
Also a letter of Einstein to his daughter, in which he has said that also everything what he write about the theory of relativity, the most important thing but people cannot hear is the universal love, the power of the universal love, what we also share or are in this meeting. That is in fact the most important or basic from which we live.
Right.
So all
and
his,
somehow, go on. Yeah.
He said this is the most important, but he said I cannot share it with the world because the world cannot hear it.
And they can't hear it, it seems to me, because we have such strange ideas about what love is.
Yeah.
Because of these very strong kind of society-inspired romantic nonsense about love. Because of that, people can't access the true love. And this is actually extremely sad, really. It's kind of tragedy, actually, because people are desperately looking for this love, whatever they think this love is, when their essence is actually love.
In that he shows that he's how spiritual, how he was connected, Einstein.
Yeah. He was clearly a very remarkable guy. Yeah. And very humble, I think. He was not, even though he became very, very famous, from what I can understand, he was always very humble. And I think if you're really in touch with the sort of immense beauty of life, it's not possible to be anything else but humble, actually. Because this whole universe is such an amazing creation that, completely deserves us to be humble in the face of it, of all this sort of divine majesty or something. I don't know the right words.
We're not doing it.
Yeah. Okay, let's go back to my panoramic view. I'm getting quite good now. I've been able to click a few times tonight. You're all back. Wow. Okay, let's go to the next one. So he's saying when something vibrates, the electrons of the entire universe resonate with it. Everything is connected. The greatest tragedy of human existence is the illusion of separateness. So this is also a very strong statement, I would say, that in fact everything is always vibrating together. Everything is always vibrating together, and our mind is constantly trying to separate it. And the reality is that it's all vibrating together. So, for example, when this is a bit of a stupid thing, but when a mosquito coughs in Berlin, you can feel the vibration in California, for example. That's maybe a slightly stupid example, yeah. But scientifically, this is true. The whole thing is vibrating together. So if there's a particular happening, it affects all the other vibrations. Is rather enjoying this because he can imagine that he's sitting here in open sky house and mosquitoes are vibrating in I don't know, in India, probably somewhere in India they're vibrating in. He's feeling the vibration of all those mosquitoes. Okay, so anyway. Okay, so next quote. When you examine the lives of the most influential people who have ever walked among us, you discover one thread that winds through them all. They've been aligned first with their spiritual nature and only then with their physical selves. This is very beautiful, yeah? When you consider the lives of the most influential people. So he's meaning people who are very conscious, talented, maybe highly intelligent. They've been aligned first with their spiritual nature and only then with their physical self. For example, if you consider some of the great artists like Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo, for example, in more recent times, I would say Van Gogh or Picasso, when you consider these kind of very great artists, they were involved in the physical because they were using painting materials to express some inner energy they had, something like this, I can say. But at the same time, there's a sort of common thread, I would say, between those kind of people, that they're not just a painter, they're not just a physicist, they're musician, for example. I recently discovered a cello player. He's quite big on YouTube if you want to find him. I've forgotten his name. But he plays his cello in regular orchestras. Yeah, he's like the individual player with an orchestra around him on the cello. And he's as far as I can see, he's a complete genius. And I've also seen him, maybe when he was on holiday, he was in Ibiza or somewhere like Ibiza on the beach, in a beach cafe, and he collected all these beautiful people around him. And at the moment on YouTube, there's a particular song and a particular dance, maybe you've seen it, which many groups of people come together to do this dance. And he was playing this music for this kind of dance, this sort of international dancing. And all these people around him, most of them wearing swimming costumes, they were dancing and playing to this music. And he was sitting there like a happy kid, playing his cello, And around him, there was such a beautiful energy of people letting go into his music. And then you can click a few clicks on YouTube and come to him, wearing a black suit and sitting with an orchestra playing some classical something. So I don't know why I'm saying all that actually, but anyway. Oh, yeah. And then he says the true value of a human being can be found in the degrees to which he has attained liberation from the self. This could have been written by Ramana Maharshi, I think, yeah, this quote. Maybe Ramana, maybe they got him mixed up, and this is a quote from Ramana, maybe. Never was from Einstein. And of course, when he says liberation from the self, he doesn't mean the big self, he means the little self, he means our ego. And this is such a true statement, yeah? It's as if our whole life journey has the purpose of becoming liberated from the small self. That's, in a way, about the only purpose, if you want a purpose, I can think of that as the only purpose, really, of our life. I don't think our purpose is to eat a lot of ice cream or something. Our purpose. What is the purpose? What's the point of our life? Everybody wants to have a kind of point of their life. And so you can say, well, my point is to eat a lot of ice cream, but that somehow feels a bit stupid. And but the idea that the point of your life is to liberate yourself from your small self, from the little tiny mindy prison where you live most of the time. You want to liberate yourself from that, and your whole life journey becomes a reason, or becomes a how can I say, a possibility, you could say, becomes a possibility for that liberation. I mean, it's a very beautiful point, I think. I think we'll have to ask, why he's smiling so much? Would you like to share something, Mr. O?
I don't know. Oh.
Okay, he's in one of his never stop speaking modes, I can see. There's a lot to say tonight. We're going to put him back amongst the rest of the fish. I think somebody else, Lakshmi also has her hand up. Would you like to say something, Lakshmi?
May I recommend you a wonderful, wonderful film, very much fitting to this theme. I don't know if you can. It's about Mathematiker. Könntest du übersetzen für mich?
Sure.
What's the name of the film?
Die Poesie des Die Poesie des Unendlichen.
The Poetry of Infinity.
Poetry ist Gedicht. Die Poesie of Infinity.
Okay.
Und es handelt von einem indischen Mathematiker. It's about an Indian mathematics.
Okay.
He comes to it's a little bit difficult.
What's his name?
Srinivasa Ramanujan. In 1930, as a human being. No, I think I write it to you.
Okay, yes. Send it to me. Yeah, good.
Translate. I'm very sorry, but it's.
But anyway, I mean, the poetry of infinity is already very beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And the actor, there is an English actor, I think.
Yeah, it's Jeremy Irons and.
Right. Very good actor.
Yeah. It's wonderful. And Dev Patel, the Indian guy. It's really wonderful. Yeah. It's very much fit.
Is it on Netflix?
I don't know. I have it as a DVD.
It's not on Netflix. I don't have time for it if it's not on Netflix.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Yeah. Okay. There's Lavanya clicking on her girlfriend again. It's very good having this kind of screen. I can see all you, I don't know what I call you, rogues, naughty boys and girls. Okay, we do another quote then. Anybody else want to say something? Okay, good. And this is another thing that could have been written by Ramana Maharshi. Everything is determined, every beginning and ending, by forces over which we have no control. It is determined for the insect as well as for the star. Human beings, vegetables, or cosmic dust, we all dance to a mysterious tune intoned in the distance by an invisible piper. Isn't that a brilliant statement? I mean, that could easily be spoken by any one of many great spiritual masters, I would say. And Ramana Maharshi was very well known for telling us that everything is determined. And everything will happen as it's supposed to happen, even if you don't want it to happen. And equally, he used to say, if you want, if you want something to happen and it's not supposed to happen, then it won't happen. So this was a kind of pretty central part of Ramana in his life. And it meant that, for example, there was a famous moment when some thieves came into his ashram, and actually the ashram wasn't very rich and they didn't have much you could really take away. But anyway, the thieves were taking away something. And Ramana gave the notice. He said to his disciples, let them take it. They must need it more than we need it. Let them take it. Because he was living in the full belief or the full understanding that everything was happening as it was meant to happen. So these thieves also for some reason, they were also meant to come to the ashram and take away those things. This requires, of course, a tremendous trust in life. Anybody like to comment on this? Everything is determined? Because many people have the idea that that's not true. Many people have the idea that they are deciding their life. Anybody like to admit to this wrong idea? Is that Pavati?
Yeah, I must say for me it's a very relaxing thought.
Right.
That things happen, and also to remind during the day. I often remind myself or others in all small things and in big things.
Right.
It's like that.
But when you can live with that much trust, then actually life becomes very different. It becomes very relaxed, you can say, because it's not going to depend on your strong thinking. You don't have to think so much. Mm-hmm. And we can see that having some desire, you have a desire, this also doesn't work very well.
Yeah.
This was, for me, was one of the beautiful things about finding this shop today, because I go quite often, usually once a week, I go to that street because I take one of the girls for a special class there, so I go for the last year very often, at least twice a month. And I never noticed this shop, and it was exactly opposite where I go, and yet I never noticed this shop. And somehow Kamala had made some contact in that shop. So I said, okay, we go there. And we went there at exactly 6 o'clock when Kamala said they close. They close at 6. We were there, 2 minutes to 6. And it was like a perfect moment. And it was like a perfect meeting between us and the shop and the people who ran the shop. and they made a very big order of our honey. And we left kind of in shock, really, because almost without any sort of expectation about it, everything worked out just beautifully. And it's quite exciting because they've invited us to go to certain other shops where they think that we would easily be, the shops would be easily happy to see us. You know? So this is pretty amazing because this honey business is the kind of exercise in what everything is determined. You know, it's determined somehow.
Yes.
You weren't with us in Ukraine, but we were on our last night. We were packing up into our suitcases 400 kgs of honey. You see, something really almost crazy. And we booked all kind of extra suitcases on the plane. So most people had like 60 kgs of luggage, you know. Can you imagine? We arrived in the airport with all these luggages full of honey. And, you know, they had this sort of X-ray system, you know. So we were a bit nervous that the X-ray system would show that there's some kind of strange honey smugglers on the plane, yeah. And actually, they never commented, except to one person, Radha. They asked her what kind of liquid she had in her bag. So they must have found her honey. And then she told them, oh, it's honey. And then they weren't bothered anymore. So nothing happened, you know. And somehow this thing about everything is determined, you know. The idea to bring 400 kgs of honey by airmail in huge suitcases, in plastic bottles, done up with plastic, so if the honey spilt, because it wouldn't be sticky everywhere. I mean, this all happened in a few hours on the last evening. It was like a crazy honey scene, you know, mad honey smugglers. And it all worked out, you know, it all worked out. And judging from what happened today, we're going to be able to sell it all quite easily. Now we have small problems like getting enough pots to put the honey in, you know.
Yes. Amazing.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll push on a bit. The religion of the future will be a cosmic religion. It will transcend a personal God and avoid dogma and theology. I mean, this is, I don't find this particularly interesting because it's about the future and maybe he's right. But the thing that's interesting is that, of course, Einstein was a Jew. He was brought up in a traditional Jewish family. And he's saying here, avoiding dogma and theology, you see. So he had also become liberated from his Jewish upbringing. Anyway, this next quote's more interesting, I think. Energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. So this is, this is him as a physicist speaking, but this is also in having a spiritual content, I would say. And then he goes on, everything is energy, and that is all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is physics. And this is, again, a very amazing statement. Yeah? Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but to get that reality. I mean, for example, money. You know, money is a kind of favorite topic. Many people devote their whole life to money. But actually, if money is your thing, you know, if you devote all your energy to collecting lots of money, then almost certainly you'll end up as one of the people who you can say is very rich. They're not maybe rich in the true sense of richness, but they're, sorry, I nearly sneezed. But they're rich in the sense that they had a focus on money and they became a lot of money, which doesn't necessarily mean they're rich, I would say, but they're rich in the sense that they wanted to be rich. You can be whatever you want and you can get whatever you want, actually. And the last quotation, this is a very personal quotation from him and also very touching. I'm happy because I want nothing from anyone. I mean, this is an enormous wisdom. I'm happy because I want nothing from anyone. See, as soon as you want something from someone, you put yourself in a kind of catch, you know, it's like a hook. You put yourself in a kind of hook situation. And when you don't want anything from anybody, then you're completely free. It doesn't mean you don't get stuff. Of course, you still get things, but it comes in a different way. He says, I don't care about money. I don't care about decoration, titles, or distinctions. They mean nothing to me. And I don't know, he probably got the Nobel Prize for physics, didn't he? I don't know if he did. But anyway, I could imagine he got 1 or 2 Nobel Prizes, which is one of the highest honors that anybody could get. And he probably was made a doctor or a professor in many different universities. And he didn't care about it. He was beyond those kind of things, you can say. Completely beyond those kind of things. I do not crave praise, right? So he's not looking for people to say that he's a very clever guy. I claim credit for nothing. A happy man is too satisfied with the present to dwell too much on the future. You see, he was clearly, when you see his pictures, yeah, here's the picture that was on my blog. So this is a very nice picture of Einstein. There are many nice. If you go onto Amazon, where they have lots of books from him or about him, there's many pictures of Einstein. And the thing that's very beautiful about all the pictures, he has sometimes, you know, he's got like the professor picture, and I don't know if you know, but he loved sailing. He had a sailing boat. He used to go sailing. So you have pictures of him dressed for going sailing. And however he's being photographed, you just feel like he was just photographed. He wasn't like posing for the camera. You know, he wasn't putting a special clothes on for the camera. He was just like, here I am. You know, if you want to take my picture, okay. If you don't want to take my picture, it's okay. And in fact, as I don't want anything from anybody, I'm a happy guy. I'm a happy guy. You see? So that's a beautiful way to end, I think, because this is maybe the real point of freedom. Freedom has a meaning, and one of the meanings is that you don't want anything from anybody. For example, I remember when I came to Lucknow and met Papaji, was living in a funny little dinky house. It had 2 bedrooms and a living room and a tiny little kitchen. And they never got round to painting the walls or putting curtains. He used to sleep on a mattress without any sheets on it. His life was really, really simple, you know. And then all these Western ladies came, you know, they all loved him so much that they painted the walls, put sheets on his bed, flowers on his table, and they made him into, you know, a regular, nice-looking guru, you know. They had special clothes made for him. He started wearing a little hat, a big hat, actually, because he had a big head. And why am I telling this? Oh, I remember. So anyway, there were lots of rich guys also coming. You know, spirituality often attracts, you know, people who are quite rich. And they were offering him money. There was one guy wanted to buy him an island, and another person just wanted to give him lots of money, and so on and so on. And he had no interest at all. Had no interest at all. He had a government army pension, as far as I remember, and I don't know. It couldn't have been very much, but he didn't need very much. And yeah. Anyway, so this was very touching in a way to see that you could really feel that there was no hook. You couldn't get any hook into puppetry because he didn't care a shit. He would tell it how he felt it, Okay, which is what I'm trying to do too, by the way. Excuse me. We had a new volunteer in the house recently, quite a nice guy actually, who's probably going to come and live with us in September. And anyway, I met him by chance, somewhere in the house I met him. And I don't know, I said a few things to him, something like, well, I don't have time to talk to you now, but I'll talk to you later. Hello, goodbye, or something like this, yeah? And then he was complaining immediately to Kira that, I'm not really sure if I'm a spiritual teacher because I should be very relaxed and peaceful, and I should be very interested to talk to him and so on. He had all kind of ideas, about how John David should be. I mean, what a ridiculous, what stupid. I mean, please don't have any idea how any spiritual teacher should be, because as soon as they feel that, they'll do something completely to make it seem like it's not correct, Anyway, so thank you very much. Nearly everybody said something tonight. Very good. I think we lost Arjuna. He's probably fallen asleep. They have 70 people in the retreat center at the moment. Three seminar groups, 70 people. Okay, so good night. Thank you. And if you haven't already signed up for the Denya retreat, please come to Denya. It's going to be a very lovely retreat. I think we have 24 people coming at the moment, and we have space for some more, of course. Okay, thank you.